3.
Meeting is called to order. Roll call, please.
All right, first is Karen.
Present.
Next is Lee. Lee, if you can hear me, press your space bar down.
Present.
All right. Next is John Angleson.
Present.
All right. Next is Roger Jacks.
Present.
Ann.
Present.
Bill Barnes.
Present.
And Allie has been excused. Otherwise, we have a quorum for tonight. As of right now, everybody except Roger is placed on mute to help prevent feedback. If you need to speak, go ahead and press the space bar down, and that will put a temporary lift on the mute for you to be able to speak through the audio. Roger, it's now back to you.
All right, thank you. If everybody would join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We have 2 new commission members to announce this afternoon. Welcome aboard, Karen Fogg, and welcome aboard, Ann Dory. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
Thanks. Our next item is I need a motion for approval of the May 20th, 2020 minutes.
Motion there approved.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion, I believe, by Commissioner Angleson and a second by Commissioner Barnes. All those in favor?
Correction, that's actually, Lee has made that motion, and then it was seconded by Bill.
Okay, thank you very much. So the motion is made by Lee Holloway, Commissioner Lee Holloway, and seconded by Commissioner Barnes. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Sierra, do we have any public comments tonight?
None were submitted by 9 o'clock this morning.
Okay. So that takes us to item 3, reports.
Is Greg doing his report first?
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Just a report on the golf course. Play and revenues continue to be very strong, trending positive through 2019 or 2020, excuse me. Even with the situation with COVID, we've been doing quite well. The majority of our large tournaments, we've had several of them canceled this year due to the virus. They have rescheduled their dates for 2021. We did host the Desert Shuffler tournament the last weekend of June. Turned out to be extremely strong. It was 8 players larger than last year's event, totaling 152 players for the tournament for the weekend. Great weekend for the golf course. We have recently added a 64-player tournament with the Seroptimus Club taking place in October. And then we are working on an event ourselves, which has already been publicized. It's going to be the Mojave County Amateur Golf Championship, which is going to take place various divisions November 10th through the 15th this year. Hopefully that's going to become a very large annual event for us and a great draw for Surbat Cliffs Golf Course in the city. As far as the league play has gone, the city league itself has been a bit of a challenge this year, due in large part to many of the departments now going to the 410 schedules. So the turnout for those events has been minimal at best. We continue to work on changing the days and times to see what's going to work to best accommodate as many players as we possibly can, but so far that's not been very successful. This week we're going to be trying it on Friday at about 11:30 in the morning. Hopefully some players can get off and spend some time on the golf course during what it would normally be their lunch hour. County League has been doing quite well. This past Thursday, they had 40 players, which was actually the largest turnout that they've had the past 2 seasons. They wrap up their season on August 27th. And then Journey Church, which is a league that we had last year, they did not schedule this year also due to the COVID situation. And as far as promos go, we started a new promo the 17th of July. We called it Get Your Kicks with 2 for $66. So 2 players for $66 after 10 a.m. And that's been doing fairly well for us. So that's been working out, especially with the heat, everything that we've had going on of late, and it's doing quite well. So if there's any questions, I would conclude my report.
Greg, it's John Engelson. I was looking at the agenda and it shows some financials for the golf course, which are good. I'm glad we could finally see that. And but it doesn't include the snack bar revenue or the pro shop revenue.
Those are all combined into the report, so it's not broken out. But both the pro shop sales, as far as merchandise goes, and the revenues in the golf grill are up approximately 20%.
Where are they included on here?
Like I said, they're not included in there, broken out by those departments. That is something that I could work on and get that to you at a later time or here shortly. Right now, the revenue that is shown is a combination of all of the revenue sources coming from the golf course.
Well, okay, because I'm looking at the breakdown that was in the agenda, and it doesn't show it. But if we could get that going forward, I think that's an important part of the golf course revenue.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Hi, Greg. This is Karen. I'm one of the new commission members. I do have a question. In July, there was one tournament, but there was no beverage cart hours. Was there a reason for that?
If it's a smaller event, we don't necessarily put the beverage cart out all the time. We did lose some staff members that we brought in temporarily when things got a little crazy, especially with us reducing the use of the golf grill itself, the indoor dining. We had gone to strictly pretty much a takeout menu for everything in the golf grill. We did have the beverage cart out there pretty frequently at that time to help alleviate that situation. But the smaller tournaments like that, we don't necessarily put the golf cart out or the beverage cart out, strictly based on staffing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mike, did you want to go with Patrick Friend next?
If he's on, is he logged on, Sierra? I know he's been having some troubles getting kicked out of the meeting. So if he's logged on, and ready to go, we can. If not, we can move him till the end. Sierra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is Patrick logged on or no?
Patrick is logged on.
I guess he texted me and he says he can see all of us, but can't hear anything. So it could be something to do with his laptop. I don't know. Maybe we could
He
move.
could try placing his spacebar down and see if that works.
He said he can't hear anything. I can't imagine that has to do anything with being able to hear. Pushing a space bar down is so that you can talk.
Are we sure his volume is turned up? I know it's kind of a stupid question, but that's what we experienced yesterday between Karen and I.
I say let's just go to the next person on the list and we'll get him on when if he can get on, and if not, I'll do my best to go through his presentation.
Okay, with that, Yvonne, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sure can.
Okay, good. So I'm going to try to keep this a little bit short, but my notes seem to be a little bit longer than I had hoped. Mike, don't get mad at me. So the Recreation Division opened this summer with a modified summer brochure. We didn't make it to the printers like we normally would, only because of the time frame that we had to work with. So we were able to produce something in-house off of our copy machine, and we were able to distribute it through some of the other local agencies that were still open, like childcare facilities and such. And we used our Facebook page to help promote it. And we just made copies available in our office and at the pool locations once they opened. We have, with our dance program, we're already also moving into fall. I'm going to try to cover both seasons, what we finished up in the summer and what we're trying to get started for the fall here, all encompassed in one. The summer, we were able to hold 11 technique type dance classes. They all made it through the whole 7 weeks without having to be shut down for anything. We did limit the number of attendees to 9 students with 1 teacher, so there was no more than 10 in a room at any given time. Our teachers wore face masks if they had to go up and address anything with students. And as long as they were in this classroom and students maintained a 6-foot distance from one another, we didn't require them to wear any face shields or masks. Getting ready for fall, we opened up our dance registrations on August 10th. And we were we're expected to start classes next Monday. There was a little hiccup between yesterday and today that was going to circumvent that, and we were going to postpone classes, but I think we found a way to make that happen this fall. If we're able to, we're going to move our programs to Metcalf Park and have them utilize the stage and do practices and rehearsals and such out. And we'll see how that works. But that's what our plan is. We're hoping that this 100+ degree weather doesn't last very long. And that's our goal for at least for dance for this season. We did recently just lose one of our dance instructors. So that's the other thing we're trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Recategorize or place new teachers into classes that they didn't have before. As far as fitness classes go, fitness has kind of been one that's been hit and miss because of the fact that it's similar to those classes that were offered through the gyms and fitness clubs. So we opened up in June, shut back down in July, and we've been closed since, and we're not sure when those will reopen. We're hoping that in September, if our numbers stay down, that we will be able to open along with a lot of the other facilities. Under our child supervision program, we made a dedicated decision this summer not to offer our Summer Fun Days day camp due to the COVID-19 and trying to comply with the CDC guidelines. We had asked a couple of the families that had participated year after year after year how they felt about us offering a program if we weren't going to be able to do any travels, because a lot of the amenities in which we would normally participate in and take the kids to as excursions each week were shut down due to COVID. And they basically said, if you don't have trips, we won't participate, because that's what the goal and the incentive is for these children each week, is to participate in the field trips. Moving on to sports, our Little Tyke Sports Camp is one of our popular sports that we offer in the summer. Normally we take 20 to 25 students to each class, but with the COVID, we reduced the numbers and to limit them to 10 members at a time. So instead of offering one 1-hour session per day, we offered 2 1-hour sessions, and they were basically duplicated, ran exactly the same way, but it allowed us to allow 20 participants to participate just at different times. We also had our UK Summer Sports Camp come to town this summer. It is a soccer camp that comes basically from the UK, but they use instructors. Some of them are based out of Phoenix, and there's others that actually would travel in from the UK if they were able to, with the CDC and the travel restrictions. For a lot of them, they stayed over in the UK, and we only were able to acquire the ones from the Phoenix area. But it did have a pretty decent turnout. The way that program works, it's more of like a co-partnership. They do all the work and everything. We provide the facility, and then they give us a percentage of their fees back that they receive. Let's see. Our spring kickball that we had canceled back in March when the COVID had hit, we were able, a lot of those participants said, just hold off, we don't want a refund. And it was kind of hard to decide how much to refund them back, because there was 2 separate divisions, and some had games, some didn't have games. So all the participants wanted to play. So what we did is we held off until July, and we just finished up. There was only 2.5 weeks, actually 3 weeks left, that one division had 2, the other one had 3 that they had to do to complete their season. And we were able to complete that in July, and the participants were happy with that. So we were able to satisfy the needs of those participants, which now pulls us into fall. And we are in the process now of trying to hopefully start our fall kickball season, our fall youth and adult volleyball registrations as well. We do have an agreement with the schools, and we think we have come to an agreement that we're going to be able to utilize their facilities for our youth sports and adult sports as we move forward. We also in the process of starting a new dodgeball league. Is something we have plans for this coming year. The hope was to try to do it in the fall, but I think we're going to put it off a little bit further out until some of the COVID stuff hopefully relaxes a little bit, so it'll give us a little bit more leeway to work with. And we're going to be introducing a cornhole and a pickleball tournament this fall, and that will be taking place outdoors at Centennial Park. The department continues to work closely with all of our other organizations in town. We have Kingman Softball Association, Raptors Travel Baseball, Rebels Youth Football, Kingman Youth Football. All of those organizations utilize our facilities, as well as Kingman Youth Soccer. KYFL and Youth Soccer will start up. Soccer starts up at the end of this month, and KYFL will start next month, but all the other organizations are now up and running and utilizing both Centennial and Southside parks. We've also been swamped with the demand and the requests for tournaments. June was when we kicked off our first set of baseball and softball tournaments, which was a bit hectic, because we were actually utilizing Centennial and Southside Sports Complex at the exact same time. So we were having 2 tournaments going on each weekend. And then in July, they kind of put a kibosh on it and said, well, we'll hold off, no tournaments for July. We laid back a little bit, only because the amount of outside spectators that were coming in and visitors into Kingman. And then they reopened back up in August. But what we did, instead of being able to provide facilities at both Centennial and Southside, we're only allowing 1 tournament per complex per weekend. So for instance, this last weekend, or this weekend we're at Centennial, next weekend we're at Southside, the weekend after that they're at Centennial, and the weekend after that they're at Southside. So both facilities are not being used at the same time. The only time that may become a factor is when Rebels youth football, Southside Park is our home complex. So they will be having games almost every Saturday, but it's only one field versus 4 to 6 fields being utilized at one time at that one location. Moving on to our special events, we had, I don't know if I covered this the last time or not, but Mike was murdered online through our virtual clue game. We had placed clues around the city and listed them, posted them at like some of our parks and our trails. And a lot of it you could even follow, participate online because they posted them on our Facebook page and on our website, and people were able to play online. And needless to say, Mike was murdered at Centennial Park by me. And I don't know how I'm still not in jail, but I'm right here. But I murdered Mike with a lost, never found horseshoe after visiting a customer complaint at Wallach Ranch. So it was very fun and interesting. We had a lot of people actually call in and compliment that we were able to do it. And it was right at the start when people were trying to get used to the COVID thing. This started at the beginning of May. And we offered it for about, I want to say it was like 10 or 11 days that it was available to participate. But it was our way of trying to get people outside because they were saying they couldn't go nowhere, they couldn't do anything. So we placed some of the clues, like I said, they were over at White Cliffs Wagon Wheels. We did a clue down at the Grandview Pool. We had a couple clues at Centennial Park. And then it would lead them to the different park locations to try to find some more of the clues, or they had to wait till the next day to find them online. And moving forward, so we also had a sponsorship given to us this summer for $2,500 from Peacock Nuts to go toward our summer movie nights. We were able to offer one in June at Centennial Park. We did one in July at the swimming pool, and we did a few other drive-in movies at Southside Park. We still have one more that we're trying to squeeze in. It'd probably be in September, October that we're going to offer another drive-in movie. They've been very well attended. Our very first drive-in that we actually had, I want to say we had 71 vehicles, if I remember correctly, which was one of the first events I think Kingman was able to offer since COVID was out, and everybody kept asking for stuff, to come out there. And people were very well respectful about the restrictions that we put in. We had placed lines on the bathrooms. We said no more than 2 people in the restroom at a time, space lines 6 feet apart. The concessions waited 6 feet apart. Everybody stood in the vicinity, whether they were inside their vehicles or sat out in front of their vehicles. But we didn't have any problem with social distancing whatsoever when it came to that. So it was a good way for us to be able to offer something to our community after I feel like they were locked up for some time. We also have this Friday coming up is our family bingo night. We're doing a family dinner and bingo on the basketball court. And that's another thing that we can do with social distancing because we can put out tables, and we're only going to allow family members to sit at one table, and the tables will all be spaced 6 feet apart. They won't have to get up. We're going to do all the delivering. So if they win a bingo, we'll bring them their prizes. We'll bring them their food. So they'll never have to leave their table unless they want to go to the restroom or stretch their legs. So that's one of our events that we have scheduled for this Friday. Coming up in the fall, some of the events that we're hoping to have, if everything goes as well, the family camp out. I know Miss Karen is familiar with our family camp out. She's attended every year since we've been doing them. And that's one event we feel doesn't require a lot of work to go into. The number of attendees that usually participate vary, but probably are usually around 13 to 15 different families. But at the same time, everything is already done social distancing. All the camp tents that are out on the fields are spaced well enough far apart. Our campfire pits are spaced 20, 30 feet apart from one another. The meals, that would be the only other thing is when we're serving meals that we'll just have to remember to remind everybody to stand 6 feet apart from one another while waiting in line to pick up their meals. But all of the games and activities that we already participate in for that event are already done at a social distance. So that won't be any issues with that one. The Andy Divine Days Parade, we currently have 22 Andy Divine Day forms submitted, which is a little bit low for the number. We're still hoping to see if we can host that event next month, but we're taking it day by day, week by week, and see what happens with that. The other ones that we shouldn't have a problem doing is Santa's calling, because it's via phone, so social distancing and COVID won't be an issue. Letters to Santa, same as that. Breakfast with Santa, we are hoping to still be able to work that out with Golden Corral. They have agreed to work with us for another year. The only thing that we're going to do differently with that program is, versus Santa sitting and kids coming to visit him, we're going to go back to the way we used to do it, where Santa will just roam around the restaurant and not necessarily be locked down to one place, so there's not a bunch of congregating in one area. And all the restaurants are already social distancing their tables, so it'd be much easier for Santa to be able to get around and mingle from table to table. And if Santa has to, he will wear a mask. Mrs. Claus, she's in the room right now, so she'll wear a mask as well if need be. We're hoping that there be some kind of guidelines by then that may change. Again, we're talking December, which is a few months away, so we'll have to see what happens when that time comes. We're going to also continue with our coloring contest that we normally do over Halloween, and we're going to try to see if we can squeeze in a couple more family bingo nights, and the polar bear dip in January will also be one of the events that we're going to continue to do. We're also looking at possibly trying to do other virtual activities online. We were looking at we did also add Zoom into our dance program. So if some people want to wish to participate from home, they can participate via Zoom. We have some other ideas that my staff and myself are exploring as far as internet or Zoom type classes that we can offer, or virtual activities. Now, the other one coming up here is our swimming pools. We were able to complete all of our lifeguard training. We were able to offer 2 classes this season. We were able to recruit enough lifeguards to facilitate our pools. They got it. In fact, we extended our pool season by an additional 2 weeks compared to what we normally would have closed during the week, because the kids would have been in school, but since kids didn't return, we stayed open Monday through Saturday until August 8th. We just recently closed. The pools did have to take a hit with the COVID based on the amount of spacing and the size of our facilities and capacity. So Grandview pool was only limited to 30 in the regular pool and 5 in the baby pool at any given time. And Centennial was reduced to 120 maximum participants in the facility. Normal facility size, Grandview was 200 and Centennial's 350. Just in case that was a question as far as how much we had to reduce it by. Our facilities also went in where we painted lines on the ground for the snack bar, the diving boards, the entrances. We did some repairs to the inside of the facility that also helped with social distancing. We put barriers up between all the sinks, barriers between the showers and the men's room. The women's were already pre-established with barriers, so those didn't take much work in there. But both pools are now closed, as I mentioned, as of August 8th, and they will remain open only for swim team practices, and those will begin, I want to say, next week, if they're still going to occur. On additional notes, our Fantastic program had a semi-successful summer, considering that Cecil Davis was one of our popular parks, went under some renovations with the new playground, so it kind of hindered from people coming for a few weeks. But we were able to get back on track. We did service 609 participants in our Fantastic program. And of those 609, 369 were able to receive a free breakfast and free lunch from St. Mary's Food Bank, which was another organization that we worked with to provide the free meals to the community. Anyone 18 and under was able to acquire one of those, and they were set up as a grab and go. We pre-bagged everything. They were able to take them home and heat them up later if they wanted to, or keep them in the refrigerator. We also hired 2 new park rangers. They just started a couple weeks back, so we're in the process of getting them acclimated into our systems. But other than that, I think on my events, which you should all have in your notes, it has a list of our events kind of listed there with our dates, and otherwise they're to be determined. But I think that kind of summarizes everything. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. I read your report and it sounds like you have some great programs. I'm just wondering if you ever offer any basketball for youth programs.
We actually do offer youth basketball. We've been offering I've been with the city for 20 years, and it was here well before I was. Actually, when I first started, they only had what they called the 5th and 6th grade program. When I came here, I persuaded my supervisor to allow an expansion of that. And now we say 1st through 6th grade or 6 through 12 years old. So yes, we do have youth basketball. Registrations normally would be taking place around September. But I don't know where we're sitting with that right now, to be honest, because we're trying to determine which way we're going to move with that. And it does start in January. About the first week of January is when the program should start.
Thank you. It sounds good.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Thank you, Yvonne. That was an outstanding report. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Next we have is Jerry for superintendent report for parks.
All right, I got a slideshow here to highlight the parks highlights for the last 3 months. I'm gonna start off with something positive for the Cecil Davis. Oh, I gotta do my share screen, don't I? There we go. All right. So we'll start with the Cecil Davis playground upgrade. Late June, the playground, we closed it off, removed the old playground equipment. We pulled out the existing safety surface that was there. We put signs around the park to show what the new equipment was going to be, what was being installed. The installers arrived July 8th, and they were done by July 10th, minus one part that they had to wait a week for that was actually defective. My staff then formed and poured new curbing around the playground area because it was now bigger. We filled it with new engineered wood fiber safety surface. We had to move 2 valve boxes out of the playground, and we had to change the irrigation up around the new curbing as well. Then new
Jerry,
signage.
can I jump in for one quick second on that, Jerry?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that we're getting ready to schedule a date for a ribbon cutting. We had a soft opening where people can go ahead and play on it. We do want to have a ribbon cutting, and I will send that information out to you. We were kind of letting COVID balance out and try to get it where we can have an opening with some people there. So we're just kind of trying to wait that out a little bit.
Okay, moving on with our new signage, our White Cliffs wagon wheels, which is where our bridge we built last spring. We've continued to add new signs up there, and we also had one that was built in-house, and it was actually a collaboration with Parks and the Streets Department. We designed it in-house and sent it over to them, and the Streets Department was actually able to print it out, and then we built our own frame for it and installed it up there at the new White Cliffs wagon wheels bridge. We also have new new signs up on the trail showing the upper trail bypass and the wagon wheels, and it also has been done in concrete to match the bridge. At Centennial, we got new signs put in the dugouts expressing no alcoholic beverages throughout all of them to make the rangers have a little bit easier time with enforcing that rule. Our Route 66 sign at the Beale 66 split was repainted, and we got it reinstalled, and we still have a ribbon for the first responders there installed next to it. And speaking of signs, our new visitor center sign that's at the powerhouse, we came and redid some of the rock landscape that was around it, and just pretty much fluffed it up with the same material was there, but added to it to where kind of give it a fresher look. Moving on with other renovations and repairs, we got last year we got a new AV truck actually that was used by wastewater. They no longer had a use for it, and we were able to make brackets for it, and we were able to put our pool, the screen that we use for our pool movies on the side of it, and we're actually able to now show movies in the parks or even slideshows anywhere due to the truck having its own onboard generator. And all our AV equipment is now stored in there as well. So it's kind of an all-in-one unit. It can do presentations anywhere it goes. Down at the city complex, we installed new roses. We had blue lights that we installed on the train to show kind of our appreciation for first responders dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We had KRMC sponsorship banners were hung now at Centennial and Southside Park. We had the Colorado River Club donated 2 trees for Earth Day, but we had to push back the planting for them until recently. And then Parks also matched 2 trees with their donation, and we were able to plant them. We also lost a 3-phase variable frequency drive at the splash pad. It went into a non-functional state, but we were able to get that back up and running. It was down, I believe, less than a week. And we have new trash receptacles that are done at Centennial Park that match the ones at our new White Cliffs Wagon Wheel Bridge. They were built in-house. Now going to COVID-19 modifications and vandalism. Now we installed 2 25-gallon tanks with their own pumps and sprayers on our workmen's to help run around and sanitize our sports complexes. We've installed social distancing lines were painted on the ground, pool entrances, and all park concessions and restrooms. All our bleachers and large tables were removed to promote social distancing. They've been moved from both Centennial and Southside. We made hand sanitizer stations and placed them all around around tournament areas. Now moving on to vandalism, we had our crow's nest at Centennial had its window damaged again. Our temporary fencing that we used around the skate park and firefighters during the playground closures was constantly vandalized daily. We are currently actually repairing that to where we can still use them for temp fences in our outfields for our sports complexes. Centennial restrooms experienced repeat damage to soap dispensers over the last few months, as well as paper towel dispensers. And we had a tire and rim stolen off our Buick in front of the recreation office. Old tire and rim gone. We came into it just sitting on a brake rotor. We had a green tunnel at our Centennial playground was damaged and removed. And this has now been 10 weeks. It has just now been shipped. A lot of our companies that we deal with to get supplies, there's been a lot of delays due to COVID. And it has just now been shipped and we're at 10 weeks. Now we'll finish it off with, we completed 306 maintenance orders between May and July. And for the whole last fiscal year, it was $16,635 in vandalism. And ending July, the first month of this fiscal year, was already at $1,500. And the Parks Department, again, utilized 0 hours of ADC labor between these months, due also to COVID. And ending on COVID, we are down 552 man hours a week due to losing our inmates and all the hours that we have been spending on sanitizing and to our 2 groundskeeper positions that we were down. So that's a lot of man hours per week that we are going without. And I believe that should conclude my report.
Thank you, Jerry.
Any questions for Jerry?
Yes, I have a question. What actions are being taken to address vandalism in the parks?
Well, what we currently do, we call PD on every single thing that comes through and just really try to keep shoving the kind of the paperwork their direction where it's documented on both ends. As far as, we've had a couple that we've noticed that we've, let them on that, like where we had some pink hair dye in a bathroom and we see a kid constantly in the park with pink hair, we let them know about that. But as far as that, it's just pushing police reports every time we come across it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If I can intervene real quick, where Jerry mentioned about the kid with the purple hair or pink hair was one day, the following day was purple hair, and new kids from the same group showed up with purple hair. When I notified PD, they said you basically have to catch them in the act to do it. And our bathrooms were vandalized in our park daily for a series of weeks. And it all happens between the time the maintenance crew leaves and before our park rangers come in. And again, unless we're staffing with 20 people out in the park at a time, it's the only way we're going to catch them. They know where the employees are and they know where they're not. And they just seem to be vandalizing the bathrooms constantly. And I feel bad because Jerry's crew's in there doing the best they can with everything. And we cannot catch these kids red-handed at all. And when we think we hear them, when we go out there and we try to catch them, they take off running or they say, that wasn't me. And there's no way to prove it. They said, if you don't see them doing it, you can't do nothing about it.
I'm wondering, is the use of cameras, have you considered that, or would that be too cost prohibitive?
Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 1, we can't put them in the bathrooms. And 2, depending on where we're going to place them at, they have to be strategically placed where they're not going to be vandalized as well.
That's true. And they are very expensive as well. It is very expensive. But I mean, we've talked about doing that in some key areas, but like Yvonne said, you can't put them in the restrooms. And they know where to do the damage when they're not going to get seen for the most.
Jerry, I'd like to say kudos to you and your team for what you're doing, keeping our parks looking good, especially during this hot weather and especially with all the man hours that you're down. As I drive around town, I think given your situation, they're looking pretty darn good.
I really appreciate it. Like I said, I really wanted to let you guys know how many man hours a week we are down, because it does affect us, but we still do what we can.
Yeah.
Gary, I'd like to thank you for putting the park vandalism costs broken down by month and which parks are getting the most vandalism costs to the department. Also, sign at White Cliffs, is there plexiglass over it because of vandalism?
It is actually made of plexiglass, but it's printed out and put on it to where it's actually real easy to go back and redo it. But it also has the working with streets, they made it with vandalism in mind. So it's actually real resistant to it, and it's real easy to clean from it. Nothing really sticks to it. It's made out of the same stuff, kind of like past
Wonderful.
street signs. So
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, everything we do, we try to take into consideration the vandalism because we do get a lot of it, and we're constantly looking at ways we can try to cut it off. So it is challenging, though.
Okay, Mike, it looks director's comments.
Is Patrick on yet or no?
Yes, Patrick's here.
You want to go ahead, Patrick, with yours? Patrick, can you hear us?
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So if you're ready to go ahead with your report, we're ready, I think.
All right, I'll give it a shot. I'll see if I can summarize this even more. I'm sorry, apologize. I'm having some technical difficulties on this end. First of all, good evening, everybody. I want to start in with the aerification of the golf course. All of our aerification, greens, tee boxes, aprons, collars, and fairways was all completed at the end of May, with dates set for fall in September and October currently. We made multiple applications across the golf course for fertilizer, putting a lot of 0050 out, sulfate of potash for our root zones. We also completed an insecticide application across the entire golf course. And we've done currently 3 fungicide applications to greens. And with the recent thunderstorm activity, we'll be looking at doing a fungicide application to fairways real soon. We received a new mowing unit for our roughs. This came at a great time. Our old units got well over 7,000 hours on it, and it's getting harder and harder to find parts for it. So that was our big purchase for the year that was definitely needed. We've had a few minor irrigation breaks, but nothing substantial compared to what we were doing last year. A lot of that has to do with our computer-aided programming being set where it is. And kudos to our irrigator who stays on top of installing things like isolation valves to produce, substantial loss of water. Another notable mention that we had, Golf Course Superintendent Association of America puts out their own magazine called Golf Course Industry. And one of the editors actually made a stop at Surveck Cliffs and put a picture of holes 4 and 5 and a small mention of the golf course on his way across the country. So that was pretty exciting to see for all of us. And last but not least, I do apologize again. I don't have all my notes in front of me because I couldn't get on anything over here as far as internet. But I do want to put a big thank you out to the maintenance crew. Like Jerry said, we're also down inmate labor. And with the added sanitization efforts, the teams really stepped up. So just a big thank you to all them. If you guys see them out on the golf course, just give them a pat on the back for me. And that's about all I have. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I have a question about the pine tree seedling project, which I think is incredible. It sounds like a great program. I was wondering if this is something that could be extended to the parks as well.
I think in the long term it could be. Our plans are to, if we can, at you know, we're probably a couple years out, but at completion, we're looking at possibly having anywhere from 60 to 100 pine trees that we will be able to salvage. And I don't think it would be an issue at all sharing those with parks.
Okay, thank you.
This is John Engelson. Are there any plans to hire some more people to help you guys out?
Actually, we did lose Rachel, who was one of our longest standing groundskeepers back in early May, and I was able to replace that position this month. So I've got one other person on, and there's been some rumors about maybe possibly getting inmates back. But as far as our budget, we're pretty well tapped out for groundskeepers.
Yeah, if I could jump in for a second. With the COVID, our city manager, which I think is really a smart thing, he decided to cut back on filling positions and things like that right now because we don't know what this is going to do to our economy going forward. So I think it was a good idea to watch that now. And we're really trying to watch that and in all areas. Jerry, everybody's budget took a pretty big hit because of COVID. We called it a skinny budget. We all had our budgets made out. And then when COVID came along, it was determined that the economy is going to be taking a pretty good hit, we think. So we've cut back. So.
Patrick, I have a comment and a question. The comment is, I think the golf course does a great job giving Kingman curb appeal. When you drive down I-40 and you see the golf course there, looks really nice. So you guys do a great job with that. And my question is, what's going on with Frisbee golf?
Basically, from our side of things, just the maintenance side of things, everything has been installed. We're seeing, I would say, not as much as we'd like to see in the afternoon. I kind of think that the club president spoke out of turn when he said that he was going to try to start some leagues and such. But I also know that Greg has been in contact with him recently, and that question may be better directed at him.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Patrick? All right, Mike.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, good. So last night, the poster master plan was presented to council and that you guys approved at the last meeting. And I think it went real well, and it will be on their budget. It will be on their agenda to approve at their September 1st meeting. So we're anxious about that. We think it's a really good program that's going to guide us into the future. So I appreciate all the work our team did on it, and our everybody that worked on it worked really hard. We got a lot of community input, and that was due to everybody working hard trying to get the people out there. So it was really good. And I want to touch a little bit more on the COVID challenges, I call it. Like Jerry and Patrick mentioned, overall, our whole department is 600 man hours down per week. And that's a lot of man hours to lose per week to try to get everything done and keep everything done. So it's been a real challenge. And besides that 600 hours down, we've spent over 6,000 hours sanitizing everything. We have a sanitizer truck that goes around and sanitizes all touch points and playgrounds and restrooms and drinking fountains. And so we're staying busy with that, and we're continuing to do that. And we did that even when the playgrounds were closed because we knew people would be still going on the playground. So we're really working hard to do that. We're exceeding CDC guidelines and cleanliness and everything we do to sanitize everything. We had plexiglass shields between our customers and our employees on March 15th, way ahead of when anybody else had them anywhere in the city. So we've been watching this very closely. And like Yvonne touched on all the good things we did in the pools to make our pools safe while people were there. And everybody did a great job. Our pool staff was announcing it every 30 minutes to remind people to social distance. And they really did a great job. And to get through a challenging year like this in the aquatics area is really awesome. And our staff did a great job, and I'm really pleased with that. And we've spent over $15,000 so far out of our budget on COVID supplies, cleaning supplies, masks, everything. So it's been a real challenge, and I really appreciate the job our team has done. I think our team has done a great job about that. We adopted the National Softball Association guidelines for softball tournaments and baseball tournaments. We used those. We removed all of our bleachers. We put blue lines at the restrooms and at the concession areas. So there's no place for people to congregate. They set up there, and they've done a really good job for the most part. Is it perfect? I would say not, but they're working real hard at it. Kingman Softball Association's working real hard at it with us. The baseball teams that bring their tournaments to town are people that run our concession area there. They've been working real hard to try to keep people social distancing. And like I said, for the most part, I think done a good job. And as you've seen, the numbers in Kingman are flattening out a little bit, which is a good thing. And hopefully they continue to do that and drop. So we're very hopeful about that. I also wanted to talk about our Adopt a Park program, which we're really excited about. And if you just heard about all the man hours short we are, this Adopt a Park program is really coming at a good time, because we need all the help we can get to keep the parks dialed in. So we're really excited about it. Metcalf Park has been adopted by Kingman Route 66 Rotary. Veterans Memorial Park has been adopted by Kingman Young Marines and the Marine Corps League number 887. Wallach Ranch Park was adopted by Kingman Rotary Club, and our commission chairman is a member of that group, so we're excited to have them there. And also we're excited, the Kingman Main Street group adopted White Cliffs Wagon Wheels, which we're excited about that because there's a lot of exciting things going on in that area. So that, like I said, that program, we're really happy to have it, and it couldn't have come at a better time to get help, detailing the parks out and doing things like that. So it's going to be a big help to us. I want to touch on the Arizona Parks and Recreation Conference was done virtually this year, and Yvonne, Jerry, Ryan, and Beth and I both participated. All of us participated in that, and it was interesting because, and even with doing these meetings by Zoom and kids going to school virtually, I think you try to look at the positives from this, and I think there are positives to look at. I mean, like, we're learning how to get through these Zoom meetings a little bit better, and we're learning how to, we participated in these meetings virtually, and there are some positives from the virtual meetings. You can go back and watch them later. So, I mean, I try to look at the positives instead of dwelling on the negatives. So, but the conference was good, and they did a really good job of hosting the meeting. So, but I just want to touch on that. We're still trying to keep up on things and look at best practices and continue to learn. So I also wanted to touch on the trails. Trails are a big part of our department now, obviously. We will, from the Parks Master Plan, we'll be developing trail standards, which will involve trailheads, signage, trails, and everything. We're going to have to develop standards, what we want our trails to be. So we're excited about that project. We're really excited about the grant that we've been working on for the White Cliffs Wagon Wheels Upward Trail has been approved, and we got approval to start, which is really exciting to us. So I contracted the contractor that's going to be working on it. They're probably not going to start on it until November, just basically because of their challenges with COVID and the the temperature is better to work on trails when it's a little cooler. So, but we're really super excited to get that done. And really, an area that I think is important too is to try to get a trail linking the White Cliffs Wagon Wheels Trail, which we're working on now, linking that to downtown by a trail that goes up and over the mountain, I think would be awesome. So when the trail people are in here working on it, I'm going to get them looking at that project as well. Because to me, that's crucial, where we can get people utilizing our trails and our facilities out there, and a nice, easy hike over the mountain to downtown to the nice restaurants and bars down there. And I think it'd be a great improvement. Another area that concept we've been looking at is utilizing utility easements for trails to connect areas of our town. And it will end up happening, obviously, but it's going to be a long process. I mean, there's many of the areas are across county land, across state land, city land, and many property owners. And we have to make sure, and we've reached out to Unisource, but there's new leadership at Unisource that we haven't had the opportunity to meet with yet. But the previous leadership at Unisource was in favor of trying to do it. But we have to find out, there'll be a lot of legal documents to work out, who's going to be liable for what. And so there's going to be challenges to getting it completed. But I think it'll be a great way for us to link, like, the East Branch out by our new park over to Wallapai Mountain Road, and eventually maybe a path going from Wallapai Mountain Park all the way to our downtown Kingman, a path where there again, we're trying to get the people to downtown, we think would be great. And then eventually I'd like to get a path, like I said, going from downtown to White Cliffs Wagon Wheels, from White Cliffs Wagon Wheels to Beale Loop to link uptown to downtown, so people can hike and ride bikes and that without being on the road. So we think there's a lot of good potential there, and we're very excited about it. And we've got a lot of work to do, obviously, but and that's pretty much what I have for you in my report. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. We can't hear you, Roger.
Thank you. Forgot to take care of the mute. Didn't have any questions. A comment is I think the adoptive park has taken off like really fast, which is great. You know, that there's that much interest in the community.
It's awesome. We're really happy about it.
Yeah.
If I haven't made it clear, I'm really proud of the job my team has done, especially with the COVID. I mean, it's unbelievable what they've gone through. So I do really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kudos across the board. Absolutely. Okay. Leads us to item 4, announcements by commission members, limited to announcements, availability or attendance at conferences, seminars, requests for agenda items for future meetings, and requests for reports from staff. No discussions on any of these items can be done. Anybody have any announcements as commission members? Okay, hearing none. That leads us to item 5, which is adjournment. Do I
Commissioner
have?
Jack?
Yes,
Karen's trying to speak. Just a moment.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say I'm very happy to be on this commission, and I'm going to do my darndest to complete any tasks and show up for any ribbon cuttings. I'm just very happy. Thank you.
I know the commission is very happy to have you with your experience and expertise. You bring a lot to the table. It's great.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments?
Just for anyone who doesn't know, Karen has been our Mrs. Claus. She's a former employee of our department, retired quite a few years ago, but she has played Mrs. Claus for as long as I can remember. That's all. And I appreciate her service and her volunteer time that she provides to our department.
And one other thing people might not know, I believe Miss Karen Fogg hired me many, many moons ago as a part-time groundskeeper.
Wow, that's great. She obviously made a good choice.
I have to talk to her about that.
Any other comments?
I could say one quick thing too. It's great to have a full commission. It's the first time we've had a full commission in a while, and I think we have some really good people on our commission, and I'm really excited about it. So thank you all.
Great. Any other comments? Okay, looking for a motion for adjournment. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who is the second, please?
Lee Holloway.
Thanks, Lee. Have a second from Commissioner Holloway. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned, and thank you, everybody. Great meeting.
Good night, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.